Hey, so now that nobody cares anymore, I wanted to talk about something with you. Or at least with the two people out there who might still find this interesting. For everyone else, well, I'll be back to harassing muckluck on this channel sooner or later, so you can just give this one a skip. This video is going to focus on the topic of YouTube and streaming drama that we've just all grown so used to. And I think the only accurate analogy that I can give you to make any of what I'm going to say here make sense is it's kind of like if you were one of those kids who, when you were younger and your parents caught you doing something like smoking when you were just way too young to be doing so. Now, if you were raised by true connoisseurs of psychological and physical abuse, then you would know that the correct decision that your mom or dad would have made at that moment was to sit you down and make you smoke until you threw up and probably just had a little bit of lung damage for the rest of your life. Now, looking at the way that YouTube and most popular streamers run their stuff these days, it appears we're getting the same treatment as dear old dad would have given us when he's 3 or 4 cans deep on a Wednesday afternoon and we just interrupted whatever sports game he's watching. Now, before this moment in time, I would say that drama on YouTube, or any other platform really, has been this time-tested, long-standing tradition where we just baseline bait people with views using it. Mostly because there's just nothing more entertaining than watching some guy crash out on his friends and his community, and it's recorded right there for the rest of the world to see. It's kind of like the idea that when you're watching NASCAR or Formula One, there's always this group of people that are not there for the race. They're there for the burning wreckage that they're hoping they get to see. But at the current rate that we keep talking about drama and in such excess from so many people, it's almost like a 3-day-old issue might as well have happened 3 years ago. It's just by day 4, people have reached such high levels of fatigue that it's like hearing the same thing rattled off by 10 different talking heads making the same 3 points over and over again just drives you insane. It's gotten so bad that whenever something happens, you might as well be there for day 1 and then not be on social media for the next week because you're just gonna hear the same shit repeated ad nauseum. And what's real fucked up to think about is in the past, it would have been the person involved in the drama who had to take a week or 2 off before returning after, the heat died down. But now instead, it's the viewers who have to do that. And I understand this might sound a little bit crazy. You might be looking at me like, what the fuck is this bald retard talking about? But man, do I have the perfect example for you. You see, if you're as much of a basement or attic dweller as the rest of us, then you already likely know about every single piece of drama surrounding the internet's most recent favorite lolcow, pirate software. But calm down, this video is not about the Roach King and what you may or may not think about him. I don't actually plan to clown on him, his sexuality, his second puberty, how he plays WoW, how he plays other games, any kind of controversy he's been in really. But he does make for the perfect example for what I'm trying to talk about. For anyone who's not in the know and doesn't actually understand and doesn't have the context, well, if I were to spend my time repeating the story to you, it would drive other people away because they're just so damn tired of hearing about it. The reality is that everyone saw Yamato's dog shit calls in that dungeon, everyone saw Pirate Roach out and abandon his team, and then everyone saw some teammates die. But if you just stop to think about it, is that really worth the insane amount of dogpiling the guy got? Did he really deserve the insane amounts of harassment that he got over playing a fucking 20-year-old online video game poorly? Probably not. And keep in mind that this opinion is coming from someone who thinks that Pirate Software essentially built his entire online career and brand on basic but still good life advice in short format and retarded levels of smug contrarianism, all in order to bait people into watching whatever bullshit point he's trying to make in the moment to sound intellectually superior to others around him when he's just not. But before I go on a rant, let me illustrate my point. You see, a few weeks back, when people still cared about this, I made a particular short that I knew at the time was going to be the single most disliked video that I ever made. Take your 60 mage, go solo Diamol, and kill yourself and start again, and say I'm willing to accept full responsibility for my behavior. If he did that and went on that redemption arc, we would see the biggest fucking re-up in the world. People might still not like him. People might still think he's a douche, but that would change so many people's minds if he had the balls to do that. Now, objectively speaking, this is a miserable short. It's lacking context, I sound like an asshole, it doesn't give my full opinion on the matter, and it presents a solution that might have worked if Pirate had heard it 10 minutes after what had happened, but a week later? Honestly, who gives a shit at that point? But I made it that way on purpose, so that I could gauge the feelings of the people already in the know about the issue and not accidentally attempt to capture a wider audience, which I kinda did a little bit, but not enough to be significant. And just a side note, so you know, this isn't one of those moments where someone royally fucks up and then turns around and says, aha, I meant to do that, like a month later in order to try and cover their ass. I planned this from the start. I even said so in the very same live stream that I started the same day I released that short live on YouTube. I am predicting that this is going to be my most disliked short. Maybe even most disliked video that I've ever done. Now, the response I got on that short is unsurprising to anyone with at least a double-digit IQ, and it does prove my point. Drama, particularly on YouTube, Twitch, even Twitter maybe, has begun moving at such a rapid pace that it's starting to become unsustainable. What happens when the audience becomes captured by a teeny tiny drama, blows it out of proportion, and then after that issue is resolved, the person begins acting like a true dickhead, and when they do deserve a swift kick in the nuts for their behavior, it just never comes. And that's exactly why I chose to talk about Pirate Software, because he's just the perfect precursor example for what is yet to come in 2025 if this keeps getting worse. When his teammates died in Hardcore WoW, people were baying for his blood over the death of a few fucking pixels of all things. He was harassed to no end, and to the point where he just stopped playing WoW, disengaged with the community, and fucked off to another one. But ask yourself, where was that same energy when he went out of his way to launch a lawsuit against another indie game dev who had decided that he wanted to make a parody of that situation and throw it into the game he was working on?
There was a dude earlier today that went on to Reddit and said that he was using my voice in a video game, showed a bunch of videos of it, and then put that game up on Steam. A lot of people in the thread told him not to do that, that would end up being a legal problem for him. He did it anyway. So I filed a DMCA claim, and he has now filed a counterclaim against me. We're going to take you to court. You're going to lose. You cannot use somebody's likeness or voice in any way inside of your games without their permission. It's a really stupid thing to do. Incredibly so. So I'm going to send this over to Kronos now, because he is a lawyer in copyright law. That is his job.
Now, as far as I'm aware, parody is a protected form of art under the US copyright laws. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe someone in the comments can correct me on that. But it just doesn't seem quite right in my head that people lose their minds over a few video game characters that die, but don't really give a shit about him forcing legal action on another creator. And sure, undoubtedly, he did end up getting some shit for it, but he arguably did something far worse with a lot more real-world consequences attached to them and got a fraction of the public outcry that he did for the death of a few video game characters that may or may not actually have been his fault. My little tinfoil hat conspiracy in the bubble I live in is that people just got so burned out, so tired of hearing about Pirate and the things that he was doing wrong, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, they just didn't give a shit anymore when it came time for real action to be taken against him. Now, I wish I could sit here and tell you I had a solution for you. I wish I could say that this is going to be alright, that this is just a little bump in the road. We're not going back to that issue. But think about how many people on YouTube, think about how many people on Twitch, on X, or Twitter, as is really called, cover drama. How many of those issues last more than a day? How many of those issues last more than a week? Probably not very many. Things are moving at such an accelerated rate that it's almost terrifying me. And I'm just putting this video out there just to say that I don't like where this is going. I don't like the direction that I see all this drama heading towards. Maybe if the Fine brothers had just thrown out enough racial slurs just before trying to copyright the React format, then they might have gotten away with it. Maybe if when R. Kelly was pissing on some kids, if he just announced the week prior that he thought slavery was a good thing, and those golden showers wouldn't have even made the headlines. And maybe Pirate would be facing some real social consequences when it comes to launching a lawsuit against another creator who creates video games. But maybe that's just wishful thinking. Look, maybe I'm out of line here. Maybe I've gone off the deep end, and I sure as hell hope I have. I want to be wrong about this. By good formatting, I should end a video on a good positive note, telling you that we can all just return to reason and sensibility, that it's going to get better, that don't worry, everyone's going to be logical and sensible, and nothing bad is ever going to happen after this point in time. But I think you and I both know that the internet was really just made for jerking off and for circle jerking others. So instead of giving you some kind of resolution because I'm just not smart enough to have one, I'll instead leave you with my absolute dog shit unfiltered opinion. The modern Western zodiac sign for 2024 was undoubtedly the year of the exposed pedophile. But as the clock is ticked over now to 2025, do you really want this to be the year of the drama burnout, where every time a real issue with real consequences arises, no one cares anymore?